passion for life. We just supported this team that be bringing them life.
All right, welcome back to the Blessed Beats Live morning show. My name is Marcus, on social media at Blessed Beats Live. I'm also on social media at Marcus Sullivan Live. This is the segment where we kind of jump in to find out the artist spotlight of people who are doing what we call good in the neighborhood. And I am so thankful for this interview. I actually didn't really even know how I got it, but grace to God, I got it. On the call today, the good sister, Sarah Jakes Roberts. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me.
Not a problem. It's so much that we could actually talk to you about, but I just want to jump in. You got a brand new book that's coming out called All Hope is Found, Rediscovering the Joy of Expectation. For you, when you got ready to do this book, right? What was the thought process of, let me go ahead and put out a book?
You know, I wasn't really anticipating writing a book this year. I'm working on a book that I was planning to release next year, but the more that I started talking about hope in the Woman Evolved community and understanding how it's something that feels so elusive, and yet it's something that we all need in order to function at our most prime self, it made me recognize that maybe hope isn't something that we're waiting for in the form of an opportunity or a text message or something big happening. And instead, hope is something that we can be an active participant in discovering in our everyday life.
Yeah, you got, and in your everyday life, for those who don't know her, man, she's a wife, she's a mom, she's a co-pastor. You do a whole lot, and you mentioned the Woman Evolve conference, which is coming up, and I wanted to talk about that. But in this book, there's things about hope that you actually have highlighted. Let's kind of just jump right into some of those things. I think you talked about misplaced hope. What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of times we put our hope in certain outcomes. And when those outcomes don't come out the way that we desire, we end up losing all hope. And we end up feeling like maybe this life isn't for me or XYZ isn't for me, and not really trusting that even though that particular thing in this season may not be for you, it doesn't mean that there's not other hope around you. And I think that as we're in a process of like growing and maturing, like what I hoped for when I was 5 years old, it's not the same thing I'm hoping for now. So giving ourselves permission to grow beyond a hope that we once possessed, and really discovering, what does hope look like for me now with this life, with this set of children, with this degree in this city? How do I need to really rediscover hope in a way that allows me to feel like it's actually something that's within reach and not something that is beyond me now?
Love it. On the call, on the phone today, Sarah Jakes Roberts talking about the new book, All Hope is Found, Rediscovering the Joy of Expectations. And right now we're just talking about some of the related topics in this book. Putting hope to work is something real powerful, and I talk about it on the radio all the time. Dive into that little piece right there, putting some hope to work.
Well, you know, sometimes we can get a little lazy with our hope, like we're just waiting on it to happen instead of like going out and actually starting to move towards the direction of what we're hoping for. So if we're hoping to start a business, like there are some steps that we need to really put into action in order for that hope to become a reality. If we're hoping to get our health together, like it's not just going to happen overnight. We have a responsibility to be an active participant in our hope. And I think when our goal feels so out of reach, that it's easier to make it a hope without having work connected to it. But the only way that our hope becomes closer is when we begin to align our decisions, our choices, our relationships to be a reflection of the very hope that we possess.
And off the when we talking about like putting our hope to work, just off the top of your head, what are some things that you would say are hope killers, right? Could it be when you said like the people that you're around, or maybe, and I even say it on the radio all the time, maybe sometimes spending too much time on social media, right? What are some of the things that could be considered hope killers?
I think dwelling a lot on our past can be a hope killer.
Yeah.
I think when we have experienced rejection or failure or heartbreak in the past, that when we marinate on that, that it makes our hope begin to dwindle. Certainly, I think relationships, especially when we are hoping for something that someone has never seen before,
yeah,
and they don't always have the faith or the capacity to meet our hope. And it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to cut everyone off, right? Because I think we have this black or white, all or nothing mentality, but it just may mean that this person can't have access to this hope. I talk about it in the book. There are seasons where we're incubating hope. Like, I'm trying to keep this hope alive. I'm trying to stay in the game. And when I expose it to certain people, it feels like it needs life support. So I can no longer expose that part of my hope to this person because I recognize how important it is for me to keep it alive. And so that's where boundaries come into play, effective communication when that's an opportunity. But if not, really creating an environment, social media, going outside. Sometimes for me, when I felt my hope dwindling, I just go outside because I'm like, God, if you created all of this and it is still in motion and it is still functioning, surely this dream is not too big for you. But sometimes our world can make us feel like that hope is just not going to come out.
Yeah, and then when the world is doing that, you got to find something within to actually recharge yourself. Like you said, you'll go outside, and I see the topic of the importance of hope speech, right?
Yeah.
Define hope speech, right? Is that just pounding your chest? I got this, Marcus. What is hope speech?
For me, it's really owning your hope. So anyone who knows me knows, like, I'm an introvert. I like to be at home. I don't like to do a whole lot. And so we were sitting at a dinner table, and somebody was talking about, oh my gosh, they really want you to come speak in South Africa. And someone was at the table, and they were like, now you know, Sarah's not about to go all the way over to South Africa. She wants to be at the house. But the reality is, the idea of God allowing my gift to be used internationally in a way that can impact more people, like, I do want that. But I allowed them to go ahead and continue that conversation because I was married to a version of myself that everyone else knows. But hope speech is when we are willing to vocalize that new hope, that new identity in a way that makes room for other people to shift their perspective as well. And so I put the responsibility on me. I went back to that person. I was like, you know, I actually would be honored for the opportunity to go to South Africa because I want my heart, my words, my actions to all align with the direction of hope that I'm pointed towards. Like, I don't feel entitled to it, right? But if God creates a path for me to be able to go and speak all over the world, like, I want to own that. I want to step into it, and I don't want other people's perception of me to make me align with a lesser version of who I am.
I love it. Arthur, now Arthur, Sarah Jakes Roberts of All Hope is Found, Rediscovering the Joy of Expectation. Sarah, I gotta ask you, you just said you're an introvert, right? I work in media, and I am an introvert, right? It takes a lot for me to get up on stages and even to get in front of the microphone, get in front of the camera sometimes. So I have to use that hope speech or that motivation self to do my God-given assignment. For you, we see you on social. People might see you on the stages, like you said, going across the globe. What is your motive? How do you get past that introvertness for yourself? What's the thing that you have to do?
You know, I have to have something to say. So, like, when I first find out I'm going to speak, like, my stomach like drops to the floor. I'm like, oh Lord, get somebody else to do it. And then I start studying. I'm like, whatever, I'm gonna see what the Lord's gonna have me to say. I start studying, and when I find that something to say, I'm like, this is worth overcoming my nerves and my fears. I don't think that you can overcome any obstacle or barrier just because you gassed yourself up to do it. I think that you have to believe that what's on the other side of this obstacle is worth me moving outside of my comfort zone, moving outside of what I would prefer, and stepping into what God knows. And so when I'm speaking, like, I am fully stepping into what God knows about me, even if it makes me uncomfortable, even if I'm doing things that I would rather not be doing, or it feels embarrassing or whatever. Like, it's not about me in that moment. It's about what God wants to do. And so literally, when I pray, anyone who's heard me speak has heard me say some version of, Lord, I'm gonna need you to show up, because if it's me out here, I'm gonna mess it up. But if it's you, I believe lives can be changed, and I really mean that.
I love it. And you talk about divine expectation, right? So after you minimize the message, right? You minimize the messenger, you maximize the message, right? You got this divine expectation, like you just said, Lord, it's got to be you, because I'm gonna mess this thing up. What does divine expectation look like?
Oh, divine expectation is recognizing that God and I want the same thing. And for me, to make that personal, and even maybe not even in speaking, as it relates to my marriage, as it relates to my children, like I have an expectation that my children are going to know who the Lord is, that they're going to be healed, that they're going to walk in wholeness and power and authority. That is my divine expectation. I'm not just pulling that out of nowhere. God did not randomly assign me to be their mother. He did not put them under my tutelage for them to go around and become whoever and whatever. Like God and I have the same expectation. And so then my prayer is, God, if we have the same expectation, then help me to order my steps. Help me to understand who I am to show up as in their lives so that that expectation becomes their reality. And so whether it's speaking or writing a book or even doing this interview, God, you have an expectation for this interview. And if I come in here and I'm nervous and I'm tired and I may miss out on what you expect to take place in this moment. And so, God, help me to align with that expectation, even if it means I have to misalign with what I expected.
Yeah, man, I love that and your transparency in this conversation. And we're talking about the book. Of course, there's an audio book for it, right? There's the ebook and then the hardback. I'm going to get into that, but when you were just talking about that divine expectation, even in your marriage and even with your kids, we see a lot. We see the pastor out of you, right? What is it like? Because you come with a lot, right? What is it like being a mom with the pressures of raising these kids in a godlike way, right? And all of the distractions and the things that they have to go through, and then having to relay a message for the people. Is that the same kind of correlation when you're preaching and then you have to go home and be mom?
You know, that kind of makes me, it's kind of digging into the book that I was writing before I stopped writing this book. So maybe I'll give you like a little hint about it. But the book that I was working on is called Power Moves. And I too was like trying to make this connection between like who I am on the pulpit and who I am when I'm with my children. And like, how come I don't have that same level of like fierceness when it's time for me to stand up for myself at a meeting or to conduct something? And God really revealed to me that sometimes we see power as static. Like if I'm only showing up in power in this one particular form, that I have to find a way to show up in that type of power everywhere. And God really revealed to me that power moves, right? And so I can't come home acting like the person who was on the pulpit. I need to be more of a listener. I need to make space for my children to have their own experience. And so my power shifted in that moment. And so I think that even when it relates to like discovering hope in our lives, just to tie it back, it's like at the end of the day, if my hope is static, where it can only show up in one particular form, then I miss out on the small hopes. That's what in the book, I talk about this instance where I was like driving the kids to school and I was thinking to myself, I hope I make it on time. And I made it on time. I didn't even think nothing of it. I just went on to my next meeting. But taking a minute and really being like, wow, God, you fulfilled that hope. Like you heard me. You allowed that to become my reality. And if you heard me then when I say, I hope this deal closes, I hope that this works out, I can trust that the God of hope that has carried me throughout the day is still with me. Even if the outcome isn't what I desired, that God of hope has been showing up all day. So if it didn't turn out the way I wanted, the God of hope must have something else waiting for me. And so that to me is our responsibility when navigating our different roles and responsibility, is understanding that power and hope are fluid and not something that is stationary.
Oh man, this book sounds like a must getter. All hope is found, rediscovering the joy of expectation. Listen, I'm on the go all the time, and I'm a audio book person, right? And so you got the audio book version of it. What was that like? It's in your voice, right?
Yep, I'm reading it.
What was that like? After you did the due diligence of even authoring a book, now I got to go in the booth and read my words and actually make this come to life. How was that for you?
Well, you know, Marcus, I always wanted to be a rapper, and yet God just didn't allow that to be my portion. And so anytime I'm in the studio, whether it's like reading a book or, you know, I'm channeling this part, this hope, that's my hope being realigned, right? God was like, I'm going to put you in the studio but you gonna be in the studio reading this book and not spin bars. And you know what? When I was in there, I just it's like having a conversation and really making sure that the person on the other end feels like they're talking to a friend and not just me talking at them. So I hope it's something that feels really conversational.
I had no idea you was gonna say you want to be a rapper. Y'all, go get
That
this
was my
book.
portion. So.
Go get this book. All Hope is Found: Rediscovering the Joy of Expectations. It's out right now, right?
It is. Mm-hmm.
You can go pre-order the book, get the book, ebook, hardback, or audio book. I'm getting the audio book version myself. Before I let you out of here, Woman Evolve. Somebody's gonna hear this and be like, "What is it? When is it?" Because I know it's coming up.
Yes, Woman Evolve is September 14th through the 16th. So we're just a few days away. It is taking place in Arlington, Texas. We are just about 40,000 women strong, coming to experience and encounter the presence of God in a way that we know will be absolutely transformational. We've got Brene Brown, Yvonne Orji. My father's going to be there, Bishop T.D. Jakes. Of course, I'll be there. My mother, Sarita Jakes. My husband, Teray Roberts. We just got an incredible lineup of people. But what I'm most excited about has nothing to do with who's speaking and everything to do with who these women are going to be sitting by. Because Woman Evolve is not about looking at the stage. It's about making connection with the woman beside you. So in a world where we are more social media out than ever, this is a space of community, like-minded women, and an opportunity to grow together. I'm super excited.
And that's not sold out or nothing, right?
It's not sold out, but we are very close. Like, I think we'll be sold out by this weekend.
Cool. Woman Evolve. And listen, if you're getting this from the air, go to blessedbeats.com. I'll put the link up to it. Go to blessedbeats.com. I'll put the link up under this interview about it. But if they want to go, is there online where they can go? You know where that is?
For the conference?
Yeah, if they wanted to get
it's Woman Evolve. Oh, yes. Okay. So, if you go to womanevolve.com, you can actually find everything from All Hope is Found to our conference. If you're like, I can't do the conference right now, but I would like to learn more, we've got a podcast. You can get plugged into our social media. We have weekly devotionals that go out on our newsletter. So, womanevolve.com is like the home for all things modern woman of faith who's on a journey of becoming better in God.
Yo, I got to say thank you so much. I know you probably have a big schedule. This fell in my lap. I'm thanking God for it. I had no idea that I would actually get a chance to interview you. Hope to meet you in person one day soon. Have to swing by. The church is in Dallas.
It's in Dallas. Mm-hmm.
It's in Dallas. Huh? Okay. No, I had to come to Dallas to check it out at the Potter's House. Sarah Jakes Roberts on the show. Thank you so much for stopping through.
My pleasure. Thank you.
All right, stick and stay. More of your favorites along the way. Don't move. This is the Blessed Beats Live syndicated show.